Hello, I'm Hayden Watkins,
And I'm Taylor Huffman.
and welcome to Thoughtful Thoughts. Now, we're going to do something that we are a little bit behind on.
Been putting off a little bit too much.
Way too long. We're here to talk about The Force Awakens.
And all other Star Wars related things.
And other movie-related things.
And just other things.
Just whatever comes to mind, whatever it feels right to talk about. So, December 17th, Thursday night, we were there.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
The experience was pretty awesome, I gotta say, and the movie even better. Spoiler alert, I like the movie. Oh, we should probably give a warning.
Yeah, straight up spoiler alert, because we're going to be spoiling the shit out of this movie.
Yeah, if you haven't seen The Force Awakens yet, what the hell is the matter with you?
Go
see it.
We're also going to be spoiling the other movies, but if you haven't seen them, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, just initial thoughts. I'll let you go first because you know how I have the tendency to ramble.
Yes, you ramble all the fucking time.
Oh, yes, I do. But, you know, I can't help it. I love this shit. So, initial thoughts concerning The Force Awakens. Just make it short, make it sweet. Just something to get us started with before
with the new characters, Finn turned out to be a lot of a lesser character than you'd think.
He really did.
Because everybody thought he was the poster child for the entire movie.
Yeah.
And, oh, nope.
The old bait and switch.
It was a genius plan.
It was absolutely brilliant.
Which is funny because each character in that movie kind of fit a role like in the other Star Wars movie, but Finn doesn't. Yeah. Which is strange. They haven't really fit his role because we got a Han Solo, we got a Luke Skywalker, we got an R2-D2, and he just doesn't fit in. Yeah,
he fits this archetype that hasn't exactly been introduced in the Star Wars.
He's kind of like the blank slate character, a character I guess that the audience is supposed to relate to.
I suppose, yeah. He is the proxy.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love this movie. I've seen it 3 times now.
I've only got it the 1, but still.
I've seen it 3 times now, and it's lived up to the rule of 3. I have a rule of 3 when it comes to great movies. The first time is the experience, the second time is to pick apart story and character, and the third time is to see if it holds up to multiple viewings. And it has passed all 3 of those tests, so I would consider it a great movie.
So far it's beaten the prequels.
Oh, God, yes. In fact, I like it just as much, possibly even a little more than Return of the Jedi. It may be controversial, but
it has to be said because I totally agree with you. It feels like a new Star Wars. It feels like the beginning of a whole new thing.
It does.
Much more than the Phantom Menace can ever hope to be.
Oh, isn't that the truth? But right from the beginning, it's like that opening crawl is...
Oh, I almost cried.
Yeah, I know. Because, you look at the opening crawl of the Phantom Menace, and, I did not get to see the Phantom Menace in theaters, but I can only imagine what fans thought when they were reading that shit.
They're like, oh, God.
Trade Federation?
Okay, the funny thing is you actually think they read that after the first sentence.
Yeah. There's the fuck? Is this an opening crawl for a Star Wars movie? But the first line in this one is, Luke Skywalker has vanished, and right away they had me. And then if that wasn't amazing enough, that shot of just this planet, and it's the only thing that is filling the screen with any light whatsoever, and then a Star Destroyer just slowly flies over it and just completely blacks it out, and then right away I was just like,
which is a huge nostalgia treat.
It absolutely is, because it's a callback.
But see, a lot of people complain about that. A lot of haters, they think it's just a copy and paste.
Yeah, that's nostalgia bait, and it's not a copy and paste. There's so much stuff in this movie that has never been explored in any Star Wars movie.
Which it kind of separates. It's kind of like Trekkie and Trekkers. There's 2 different types of fan groups of Star Wars. So the hardcore ones, and then there's that weird group that are so focused on that original trilogy that they can't accept anything else to be Star Wars, and doesn't matter what somebody puts out, they're gonna call it down just because it's not the original trilogy. But nothing's gonna be the original trilogy.
No, I don't think so. those movies are products of their time, and we kind of have to accept that. But the thing is that this movie made me feel the same way I did when I watched those Star Wars movies, the original Star Wars movies.
Like a kid again.
Yeah, and the movie did, and the biggest compliment I've given this movie, and the thing I was worried the most about, is it does the one thing that is almost impossible for sequels, which is it reintroduces characters that you know and love while introducing new characters that ultimately you wind up liking just as much.
Yeah, and they did a hell of a job on it.
They absolutely did. Okay, so let's start talking about some of those
Let's
characters.
take a stab at it.
Okay, so we've already talked about Finn, and we've already basically spoiled the fact that Finn with the lightsaber in all of the trailers was kind of a bait and switch for Rey, who is apparently going to be our new,
Our
potential Jedi to be.
Yes.
Rey is played by Daisy Ridley, who I'm kind of starting to fall in love with.
Oh, she is wonderful.
Yes, she's a wonderful actress and quite lovely.
Out of nowhere, too.
Absolutely out of nowhere. She hasn't done anything of notoriety, but I think that's the way to go with this kind of series.
Well, that's what they did with the original trilogy.
Absolutely. Nobody knew who the fuck Mark Hamill was.
No, he was just some guy that they threw in there, and man, he was an actor.
Oh, yeah. And how he has continued to capture our hearts time and time again since then.
It's funny that Luke Skywalker is almost not his most prominent role anymore.
I know.
It's
now
the
it's the
Joker,
Joker, yeah.
which
And he's coming back to be the Joker again.
Which is amazing.
And he's the trickster
I
again.
cannot wait for the Killing Joke.
I can't either.
It's going to be an amazing thing. We're getting an R-rated animated Killing Joke movie.
I know.
It is going to be amazing.
Man, it's just...
There was this a drawing that somebody had done one time. You can find it on the internet somewhere. But they actually took the cover of the Killing Joke and redrew it to look like Mark Hamill as the Joker. It is amazing. It is you get chills when you look at it, kind of thing.
Oh.
So that's something you need to look at.
Yeah,
because it was amazing.
Okay, all right, back to Star Wars. Okay. So let's see what to talk about first. There's so many things.
I know it's like you go through them through your head, and you're like, okay, we got this.
So right away from the beginning, they throw you right into the action. So that is the new version of the Rebellion, which is basically this kind of the Republic exists in this trilogy, as opposed to the original trilogy where the Republic was completely dissipated.
Yeah.
But it starts off with Poe, and he's on Jakku trying to get this map, which we later find out leads to Luke Skywalker. And then we meet Kylo Ren,
who freezes a plasma bolt midair,
which was amazing.
It was. This is the first time I've seen the Force used in
that kind of way.
Yeah, it's the Force in this movie is taken so many different ways.
And they set up some, and I have a theory about one of the Force tricks.
Okay.
As well, because they introduced in this movie, like we were always familiar with the Jedi mind trick from the very first Star Wars movie.
Yes.
But in this movie, we learn that the Force can actually be used to extract information, that you can really play with someone's mind. Using
the Jedi mind fuck, huh?
I am thoroughly, and then the backstory that we get is that Luke tried to rebuild
the old Jedi Order.
Exactly. And then Kylo destroyed that. So my theory is that Rey was part of that. And the reason she doesn't remember any of this is because she had some Jedi mind mojo thrown on her. And that's why she suddenly was a badass with a lightsaber at the end. Which everybody's complaining about. He's an experienced lightsaber fighter. She picks up a lightsaber for the first time and she completely kicks his ass.
Which also begs,
that was not her first time.
Which also begs into question, her Force powers are pretty powerful. I want to know who she's related to.
I do as well.
Because Kylo has got Skywalker blood in him.
Oh, yes, he does.
He's some potent stuff.
It makes you very strong with the Force and makes you a whiny bitch.
Yeah. He needed a little more Han Solo in there.
He really, really did.
If he had a little more Han Solo, he might not have been these problems.
Yeah,
but
his little temper tantrum with the lightsaber was absolutely fucking awesome.
I'm thinking we have some Kenobi blood coming back.
I think so too. That was
I don't know in what way, but I have a feeling that she has Kenobi blood in
Well,
her.
since I actually read that they brought in Ewan McGregor to record some dialogue for the scene where she's getting drawn to the lightsaber, I am now thoroughly convinced she's a Kenobi.
If anything can be stronger than Skywalker blood, it's Kenobi
It's Kenobi blood. I don't know where they're gonna go with that, but that is definitely the direction that I hope that they're going in.
That would be great.
Adam Driver is great in this movie, by the way, and he has a really, really tough role and a lot of people have been criticizing that role and kind of calling him emo and calling him,
well, he
nerdy.
Is emo.
But he is emo,
I mean,
but calling him nerdy. And the last time I saw the movie, the moment where he takes the helmet off, the first line of dialogue he says, the people behind me giggled because he was using his deep voice once he took the helmet off. They thought it was funny, and they're just like, "Oh my god, the visage is broken." But to me, that kind of added to what Kylo is supposed to be. He is posing. He's pretending to be Darth Vader.
He's two people, really. He's fighting between the light and the dark side.
He is, but that getup is just for the intimidation factor because he pulls off that helmet and guess what? He's not scarred. That shit's not keeping him alive. He's only doing that.
Try to be like Grandpa.
Exactly. And praying to his grandpa's burnt, severed head, which
God,
is really creepy.
You know what that made me think of when I saw that?
Do tell.
It was in the second Friday the 13th movie.
Oh.
Yes.
Some Jason...
Mrs. Voorhees' severed head.
Wouldn't that be funny if there was a scene where Rey actually put on Darth Vader's costume?
Like the sweater?
Grandson, I'm speaking to you. And he gets tricked and he cocks his head like a dog and he's like...
It's just here.
And then she just kind of moves over to the side and he sees Vader's burnt head and he's like, "Hey, wait a second!
Something's going on here!"
I wonder how many people would have understood that reference.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
That would have been amazing.
So anyway.
Yeah.
We got to get back from
getting on track. I will tell you one of my favorite new characters in this movie is Maz Kanata.
Our Yoda.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
She is a brilliant character. Visually, she is stunning.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm not saying she's hot or anything, but yeah.
She really charmed me. And she doesn't have a lot of screen time either. I mean, she's pretty much in
she
and
takes
out.
up that sage role that you need, that wisdom. And another interesting thing about her is she is not a Jedi or a Sith, as far as we know, but she can sense she is in the field of the Force.
She is in tune with the Force.
She knows the Force is with her. It is.
She is absolutely wonderful. And hands down my favorite new character of the bunch. Close second being Poe, which is Oscar Isaac. Oscar Isaac has just exploded. He is in everything now. And I'm not complaining because he's a damn fine actor. And the most badass pilot in the galaxy.
It's funny. I brought up something before we went and seen this movie. We were seeing this certain lightsaber that was being used in it with a pale blue light.
Anakin's lightsaber and then Luke's lightsaber.
It's a lightsaber that has a lot of baggage on it. And
damn, does that motherfucker have some mileage? Yes.
For some reason, it's popping back up again, and it happened to be in Maz Kanata's care. But she didn't tell us how she got it.
Which pissed me off.
It did. I remember in the theater.
She said she grabs the lightsaber and she shows it to Han, to which Han says, where did you get that? And she goes, good question, but that's a story for another day. And then I turned to you and I just said, damn it!
Where we last left that lightsaber off was in Cloud City.
Yeah, I was banging around in that big, I don't know, what was that? What do you call that big environment?
It was like some kind of floating city. I mean,
Cloud City is a floating city, but I mean,
what
was that particular part of that building called?
Oh, it's ass.
Know. There's some Star Wars fan that
he's just
screaming and calling us idiots right now.
Well, he can go fuck himself.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm sorry, I don't have every day of the hour to look at Wikipedia.
Yeah,
and read all this stuff.
But we pretty much just watch the movies and retain our information from there. But where to move to next? The original cast members coming back.
Yeah,
they hold off on Luke, which throughout the movie I was getting bummed as the movie kept going on and I wasn't seeing Luke. But by the time it gets to that ending, and I finally get to see Luke, I've seen Mark Hamill a lot.
But
I haven't seen Luke in a very long time, and the tears just started flowing.
God, There's many tears in that movie.
Oh yes, and we're gonna get to that too,
God.
because I'm gonna talk about the scene, the crucial scene. I'm gonna try not to break down just talking about it. But so at the midway point, Finn, who is a stormtrooper and then escapes with Poe's help, winds up on Jakku and then runs into Rey, who currently has BB-8 with her.
And being
droid,
a very cool droid. Probably, I like him just as much as R2-D2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's pretty cool. He's just a radio-controlled car, pretty much.
I know. He was a practical effect.
Which is amazing. I want one.
I do, too. I want the little app-controlled one. But he's carrying the map to Luke Skywalker.
At least a piece of it.
The piece of the map, as we learn later. But at this point in the movie, we don't know that. And then the First Order finds them and attacks them, and then in which part they have one of the best crowd-pleasing gags, where they're trying to get away and they're running towards a ship, and then Finn points off screen and says, "What about that one?" And Rey says, that ship is garbage, and then the ship that they're running to blows up after it gets hit. And she goes,
"Turn around.
Garbage it is." And then the camera pans over, and that piece of garbage just so happens to be the Millennium Falcon.
And later on, she's nerding out over it.
Oh, yeah. But that it jumps into one of the best spaceship fights in the history of Star Wars.
It's one of the best Millennium Falcon fights.
I know. It was really, really spectacular scene. Eventually, they get pulled in by this weird transport ship, which turns out to be the ship that's currently being used by Han Solo and Chewbacca. To which they get introduced in the movie, and of course, it goes without saying, seeing Han Solo and Chewbacca on the big screen, I've never experienced that on the big screen, because when they did those re-releases of the movies in the 90s, I didn't get to go see them.
Which is...
I know Cameron did. Fuck, even though he got to watch the special editions with all the bullshit CGI added in it, he still got to see the original trilogy on the big screen. And I'm always going to be kind of jealous of that, unless they do it again, in which case...
if they do it again, they're doing it in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows that.
That was their plan. It was that they were going to do the 3D releases. They released Phantom Menace in 3D.
That was their mistake.
But at that time, that deal was being made with Disney for the Star Wars rights. So
and it kind of killed them there.
Kind of put the kibosh on it.
Which I'm actually fairly glad that Disney got a hold of Star Wars.
After seeing this movie, I absolutely am.
I had my hopes, because Disney's got, with Marvel and everything, they got a very good track record of supporting them and not trying to get too much into their business.
Yeah, not interfering with it and letting them make good quality.
Which Disney's good about
movies.
buying the right things, though, too. They know where the money's at.
Yeah. I mean, they bought Star Wars and Marvel. They're going to have boys from age 5 to, in our case, early 20s covered till the end of time. Movies, TV shows, comic books, action figures, merchandise. They are going to make a fortune.
Enter conspiracy theories.
If they keep
Disney controls the world.
Disney basically does own at least half the world by now. I forgot what we were talking. Oh, Han Solo and Chewbacca. So it was really, really nice to get to see those guys again. And then comes the big reveal. Even at the beginning of the movie, when Kylo Ren walks out, Max von Sydow's character makes a mention of, of who he was before he called himself Kylo Ren and his family. And me and you were just sitting there like, who is he?
Oh, God.
Who is he? And then they take off with Han Solo in the Millennium Falcon because a bunch of these two gangs show up to try and kill Han. I can't remember their names right now.
They died.
Some of them died, yes.
By some squid monsters.
Yeah.
And, what were those things he was smuggling?
I've seen the movie 3 times and I
still can't remember. Well, Han
names.
Solo's in that scene, so you don't really care about anything else.
I really don't. It's Han Solo, Chewbacca, and the Millennium Falcon. That's pretty much all I care about.
Fucking forgot about.
But then we cut to the next scene and we meet Snoke, who is basically filling the role of the Emperor this time around.
And humongous when you first see him. And
yeah,
like,
and you thought he was...
Fuck?
He's a giant?
I would hate to see his fucking lightsaber.
And then you realize that it's a hologram projection message. Which was a pretty good reveal, because at first we're just, is he just this giant dude? Because that's really weird.
Well, obviously with that huge hologram projection that he has a superiority complex, which a good Sith Lord is supposed to have.
Oh, absolutely. But he winds up dropping the bombshell, which is, whoever Kylo Ren is, he is the son of Han Solo. And cut to everybody in the theater gasping.
Yeah, and they didn't have to say who the mom was, because we all knew.
Oh, yeah, we all knew.
And then you're like, holy shit.
But they still play that off as a reveal later when Leia shows up.
But we all knew.
I mean, we did. We did.
I mean...
I guess we should go ahead and talk about that scene now. I mean... So more stuff happens. They, big fight on
extra giant Death Star, the planet destruction cannon.
Well, I was going even before that. So Rey gets captured by the First Order about halfway through the movie. Finn winds up going to the Resistance base, where they formulate a plan to take down the Starkiller base, which is the new Death Star, which is an entire planet that uses a solar cannon.
Aside from moon side, now it's planet side that uses a fucking solar ray cannon.
Yeah, it's Hoth with a solar ray cannon. It's a snow planet. And it's snowy because they're feeding off the sun, I guess. But, I don't know.
It's so
science fiction, fantasy, science.
The First Order is economy friendly.
I guess so. They're solar powered.
They must save a killer fortune on their electric bill.
I guess so. So Finn, Han, and Chewie wind up going to the Starkiller base. By this point, the Resistance has already arrived, and they're trying to destroy the planet. Because if they hit it in a particular spot and destroy a particular spot, the planet will become unstable and eventually, completely blow to pieces. Sound familiar?
Uber fans are getting mad right now.
Yeah.
They're like, what the fuck? It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. We've seen the shit twice now.
Why do they want
2 different fucking Death Stars. But, I don't know. Maybe eventually they'll create a weapon without a weakness. So
I'm thinking the end of this trilogy, is going to have a massive, just changing battle. Because the First Order, it's almost a remnant of the Empire. It's kind of like a shadow. It was what was left over all those fanboys.
Well, I told you what the original proposed title for this movie was, right? It was called Shadows of the Empire.
Well, they couldn't do that because of that game.
Everybody would think it was an adaptation of the game.
Which the game was pretty much an offshoot of Empire Strikes Back, which it opens up on the Hoth battle, which is the only good part of that game, really.
Yeah.
Which is upsetting. But
it's okay. I love the title The Force Awakens, and it works.
Yes, it does.
For the movie. It perfectly describes what the movie is about, unlike some of the prequel titles, which didn't exactly do that very well.
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones is not the worst movie, but it is the worst title of the series.
I mean, it doesn't describe. I'm like, oh, we're getting attacked by clones now. That's what we're going to say.
Well, I mean, the intention, I guess, was to sound like an old serial. You know, they had big over-the-top titles like that. Attack of the Clones. But it doesn't really describe what the movie's about.
Mm-mm.
I mean, because even The Phantom Menace, which everybody, when that title was first announced, was like, what the fuck does that mean? That actually does describe...
It's talking about a menace that is in the background. Something's happening and we can't figure out what it is, which makes sense.
Someone is doing something. There is a menace afoot, and they are doing something, but we do not have a name or a face for this person.
A phantom.
Exactly.
So it makes sense.
So that does make sense, but...
what would you call Attack of the Clones if you had to give it a title?
Shit, I don't like sand. Awkward forced romance. I don't fucking know. That's why I don't make Star Wars movies, I guess. So,
all right, we're at the Starkiller base still.
Yes, and they're about to set charges, Chewie and Han, and they split up. And the moment they split up, my stomach started twisting because I'm like, I think I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, from the beginning of watching this movie, I figured there was going to be a sacrificial lamb, and since
it was probably going to be somebody that we love.
And
so I'm going to try and talk about this without crying. It may be hard, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. So there's this long metal walkway, and Kylo walks across. And earlier you see Han, he's looking at Kylo as he's carrying Ren into his shuttle to take her to the Starkiller base, and he's got, that look on his face like, oh my god, there he is. We still don't have a name for him other than Kylo Ren, though. So Kylo's walking across this metal walkway, and then Han's looking at him, and he's just kind of debating to himself, should I just continue with the mission, or should I do what Leia wanted me to do? Which is, bring him home. It's what she asked him to do earlier, was please bring our son home. So he walks out, and this is the moment where the tears started flowing for me.
Yeah.
He walks out, takes a couple steps on the railway, and yells, Ben! And that moment really was just like a knife to the heart, because they named their son Ben. They named him after Obi-Wan, and that destroyed me. That absolutely destroyed me.
Put a knife through your gut, huh?
Ignited a lightsaber through my torso.
Yeah.
I guess would be a more fitting.
Yeah, Han Solo died.
Han Solo totally dies. It is totally heartbreaking, and I totally leaped out of my seat. And
nearly into my lap.
I nearly jumped into your lap. I did. You looked away. You still haven't seen Han Solo die.
I couldn't watch it. I knew it was going to happen, and the moment I heard that lightsaber ignite, I had to turn my head, because I don't know, I couldn't handle it right now. I know I'm going to see the movie again, and I am going to have to watch it, but I wasn't going to watch it then because it was too much.
I could not rip my eyes away. I just couldn't do it. But it was very, very brutal. And I've heard some people, this is an example of how bullshit fans will just find anything to complain about. They said, well, he dies like a chump, or his death doesn't mean anything. Now that I've seen the movie 3 times, that is complete and total bullshit. Because what it means, it doesn't mean much for Han, maybe.
But it's really bringing Kylo Ren's character into it.
Absolutely.
It's almost like it's playing in reverse on the idea of the original part where Darth Vader still has a bit of the light side in him, and he comes back at the end of Return of the Jedi. Kylo at the beginning of this one is pushing himself further into the dark side because he's afraid of going back to the light side. For some reason, we really don't know what that is. I don't know what happened to Ben Solo in his past life before he decided to become Kylo Ren. It's got to have something to do with Darth Vader, though, because who would tell their son about Darth Vader like that? That's what I want to know. He had to figure it out by himself.
I think that's the case too.
He probably went. Well, he had to have went to what was the Ewoks planet?
Endor.
Endor. Yes, he must have had to have went to Endor at some point.
Well, yeah, he
Recovered.
confiscated his head. But what that scene means in terms of what he's saying to Han is, I'm tired of this pain. And he's talking about the pain of being ripped back and forth from the dark side to the light. And he goes, I know what I need to do. I just don't know if I have the strength to do it. And I guess what Han thinks of this is
the total opposite
is the total opposite of what he actually means. And what he means is, in order to truly turn over the dark side, I'm going to have to take your life. Because
you're one of the few things that's pulling me back to the light.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really sad because that almost guarantees you that he loved his father in some way, form, or fashion. And it was killing him to have him still there and him wanting to turn to the dark side.
Also, it's something that Cameron brought up, and the moment he said it, I'm like, hey, when we record that podcast, I'm going to make sure to bring that up. The idea that another area where this movie improves on the prequels is that not only do Jedis use the Force, but the Force is present in other characters as well.
Like I was bringing up with Maz Kanata. It's like she is very entangled with the Force.
But also Leia. Because when Han dies, you do see Leia's reaction. There's no way that she would have known that because nobody tells her, but she feels it. She knows that it happened. And that look, I'm trying not to cry right now, but that look on her face is really just, it's crushing. It is absolutely crushing. But then let's get to the other cry moment, and this is tears of joy.
No, wait. I'm going to bring up the point of Chewie's reaction.
Oh, yes, I completely forgot about that.
Chewie shot the fuck out of Kylo with his bowcaster.
His big, I can't make a proper Chewbacca noise, but his reaction to it, that is what really
heartbreaking.
Oh God, it is terrible.
He just lost his best friend.
He watched his best friend get killed.
By pretty much his nephew, if you think about it, which is fucking wrenching.
Yeah.
He couldn't believe it.
And without a moment's hesitation, he gut shoots him.
Which is interesting thing. How would Kylo not see that coming? Maybe he just didn't see Chewie.
He definitely was not on his game. But we also find out at the end that he isn't fully trained.
No, he's
Snoke,
not a Sith yet.
He's not. Also, Snoke is, tells General Hux when he's like, the planet's unstable. It's gonna, blow to pieces. He's like, retrieve Kylo Ren, bring him to me. He needs to finish his training.
So, oh God, Kylo got the shit kicked out of him.
He absolutely did. But then we get to that lightsaber fight at the end,
which was awesome. Finn did a great job fending him off without having the Force at all.
Yeah, but he eventually, that only goes so far.
Oh my God. Kylo Ren, everybody's making fun of Kylo Ren's lightsaber. It's like, oh, it's stupid. It's not, it doesn't work. What's the point of the
hilt,
the handguard, or whatever you want to call it? And that part where they cross lightsabers and he's pushing him up against that tree.
And he starts.
And the handguard pushes into his shoulder. Oh, that would suck.
That was pretty brutal. And he splits him up the spine and knocks the lightsaber out of his hands, and then it falls into the snow. Very reminiscent of Empire Strikes Back. And the moment that happened, I knew exactly what was going to happen next. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. oh my god, I'm gonna cry. And it totally happens. Kylo reaches his hand out and tries to use the Force to retrieve the lightsaber, which he claimed earlier was rightfully his, considering that he's Anakin's #1 fanboy.
He's like fans. He's like, that's what he is. He's a fan character.
And it starts to shake and move, and then right then I'm just like, oh my god, this is going to be so amazing. Lightsaber pulls out of the snow, flies by his face, and right into Rey's hand.
she looks at it like that look that she gives the lightsaber, like that the thing that she did. She looks at it like she's almost confused. Like, how was I able to do this? Why was I? But I knew how. Which is another thing which you brought up, is that she very well could have been an old Padawan.
Yes. Or a youngling.
Yeah. Because she did that. So, I mean, she's able to use the Force almost unconsciously.
Because she's just able to use the Jedi mind trick out of nowhere. How would she even know what that is?
I don't think she did.
But she did it. There's something else going on, and I cannot wait to see the rest of these movies, regardless. But I can't wait for all of these questions to be answered in the future. So they have a big lightsaber fight, which Rey wins.
And pretty much decimates him.
By the end of it, once she concentrates and he mentions the Force to her, and I think then she just kind of closes her eyes. She meditates classic Jedi style, and then completely kicks his ass. Then, the base blows up. Everybody gets off.
It doesn't just blow up. It implodes into a new sun, which was awesome. Yes. It sucked up the other sun and turned it to its own.
Yes.
It's like it backfires.
Absolutely.
It was cool.
Finn is still injured and unconscious at the end of the movie. But Chewbacca and Rey take off, and they head to these ancient Jedi ruins, because that's where they discover that's where Luke is. Once they complete the map, the rest of the map was hiding inside R2-D2.
Which woke up all of a sudden.
He woke up somehow. I think that's the Force at work.
R2-D2 seems to almost be in tune with the Force.
But they find Luke, and like I said, it was amazing seeing Mark Hamill as Luke. And she pulls out the lightsaber and sticks it his way, and that's the end of the movie. Yep, and then credits roll. So we don't have much time, do we? We need to start wrapping up.
We're coming up to 40
minutes. Okay. So let's just stop talking about the story for a second and just talk about the work behind the movie. J.J. Abrams.
Excellent job. Everybody, they said if he fucked up, he'd be known as Jar Jar Abrams.
He will not be known as Jar Jar
Abrams.
He's still JJ. This man is so incredibly talented. He makes the kind of blockbusters that we just don't get very often. Because same thing with his Star Trek movie. That Star Trek movie, I went and saw it the Saturday of opening weekend and went back the next day to see it again because it was so damn good. Super 8 was a movie that it felt like the Close Encounters meets The Goonies.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful movie as well. Truthfully, the most disappointing movie that he's made was Star Trek Into Darkness, and I still like that movie.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
But in terms of...
no Wrath of Khan, but
Well, no, nothing is Wrath of Khan. Except Wrath of Khan. But he absolutely knocked this out of the park. And in terms of making a first installment of a new trilogy to get you excited about Star Wars again...
They couldn't have picked a better director.
They absolutely... and the thing is, he's not going to come back. And I understand that they're going to try and have the same dynamic as the original trilogy, which is they're going to bring in a different director every time to kind of just inject fresh life in
Well, they
each
just don't want
installment.
to Lucas it up.
Yeah, where you completely close off the creative aspect of it and then start to make really terrible decisions, like the creation of Jar Jar Binks. But
the secret Sith Lord.
Yes. So Ryan Johnson's making the next movie. Colin Trevorrow is making episode 9, which they just announced is going to be shot on film and not digitally.
Oh.
Yes. Trevorrow's going to go to film. He wants it to have a nice filmic quality, evidently.
That will be cool.
That is cool. But JJ did an amazing job. And like I said, Star Wars is cool. Star Wars feels like Star Wars again.
It's back.
Because even with Star Trek, he had the Star Wars pace down, which is the movie moves. You love everybody, and you love every character. You are constantly invested in what's going on. There's not an ounce of fat on that movie or this movie. It moves. Every scene has a purpose. Everything is there for a reason, and you feel like you got your money's worth. If not, you rip them out.
Yeah.
It's
like, I should give you some more after you leave the theater.
It
was so good.
And I will, without a doubt, say that, in terms of this decade so far, starting with 2010, this is the most satisfying big budget blockbuster that I've seen in this particular decade. It is terrific. It is so much fun. And I've seen it 3 times now, and I have the same thought when it ends every single time, which is
I cannot wait
to watch this movie again. No, I can't wait to watch this movie again.
Oh, this one. Okay. Well, I want to see it again, too. Luckily, it's coming out this April.
April 5th is the date that has been thrown around. It was thrown around on Blu-ray.com. Nobody confirmed it, but now Amazon is stating the same date. So now we're certain to believe that that's going to be the date. And considering that the movie hasn't even been in theaters for a full 2 months yet and is already about to cross or reach $2 billion worldwide, they can go ahead and put it out on Blu-ray a little early.
And then they're going to make another $2 billion in Blu-ray sales.
Yeah, probably.
Digital downloads and everything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're selling digital downloads in stores. Yeah, I mean, even at my store, you can buy a little set, and it has a code that you can unlock when the digital release comes out, and to tide you over, it has 3 collectible posters included. Which I'm not going to get that. I want the physical Blu-ray in my hands, but still. So, any last thoughts that you have about the movie? I've pretty much spoken my piece about it.
I am ready for Rogue One.
I am too. Rogue One is going to be very interesting because it's going to be a Star Wars movie that takes place within the universe, but is not an episode in terms of the main narrative story.
It's an OVA. It's exactly what it is. And we have the next one to look forward to, and then a Boba Fett movie.
And a Han Solo movie, which apparently is going to be done by Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
And it's going to be interesting who they choose to play Han Solo again.
They need to go unknown. They've been talking about a bunch of name actors, recognizable actors. It's not a good move. They need to pick somebody that we don't know.
Han Solo came as he was a reader just to take the place, wasn't he?
Oh, Harrison Ford?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was just there to feed lines.
Which is, I mean, they brought in like Kurt Russell in there, and it's interesting that there are all these unknown actors and they picked them over these big name ones, which really worked in their
Kurt
favor.
Russell wasn't really a big name at that time, though.
No, but he's still Kurt Russell.
This was before his John Carpenter stint, before he was in half of John Carpenter's filmography.
But that's besides the point.
It is.
It's just that he was just a reader for it, but he did so well that they brought him in. It's going to be interesting who they bring to the plate this time. It's and he's really going to have to. He's got some big shoes to fill.
So, thoughts on Force Awakens?
It was a good movie.
Final thoughts. Oh, okay. Well, that's articulate.
It was a good movie.
It was good. I liked it.
Can't wait to see it again.
Awesome.
Star Wars.
Yay, Star Wars! I like Star Wars. Well, I guess that's gonna go ahead and wrap this up. We're probably going to record a little bit more after this, but does it for our Force Awakens spoiler cast.
All right. I'm Taylor Huffman.
I'm Hayden Watkins. Think about it.